On the LPGA Tour, the distances the top pros are driving the ball continue to increase, and at this rate, it will not be long before the longest hitter in the LPGA Tour will get close to averaging 300 yards in driving distance. To find out which clubs are driving these increased distances at the top of the women's game, Golfing Focus took a detailed look at the drivers the top 100 pros in the LPGA Tour are carrying. So in this video we reveal the most used make and model of driver among this elite group in the LPGA Tour, the most popular driver shaft, as well as the driver lofts they choose. Welcome back to the Golfing Focus channel, everybody, and when it comes to makes and model of driver, Callaway's Paradigm Triple Diamond and Titleist TSR3 drivers are the most popular among the top 100 LPGA players, with 11 players each using them. Ronnie Yin, Gino Thiticool and Georgia Hall are among those using the Paradigm Triple Diamond, while the list of TS3 users includes Alexa Pano, Emily Pedersen and Mel Reid. Ping's G430 LST driver is the next most used by 10 pros, including Lynn Grant, Leona Maguire and Angel Lin. And together, Callaway, Titleist and Ping drivers are used by 73% of this group, while tailor-made models are played by 7%, with Nelly Korda using the QI10 Max. The make and model of any driver only tells us so much, however. And when we looked at the drivers being used by many of the best players in the women's game, it was interesting to see the multitude of different shafts being used and the variance in lofts chosen by different players. Even a cursory glance at the average driving stats in the LPGA Tour quickly highlights that the same trend can be seen in the professional women's game as in the men's. The distances the top pros are hitting the ball is steadily increasing. The great Laura Davis topped the driving charts in 1993 with an average driving distance of 254 yards. However, such a distance would barely scrape her into the top 100 longest hitters in the LPGA Tour today. The advances in golf tech, specifically with the driver, have clearly been a factor in this increase in average driving distances. And when it comes to the elite women's professional game, it is no surprise, therefore, that most of them use the most up-to-date models from the top manufacturers. But it is not always the case that the top LPGA Tour pros will always opt for the latest and greatest driver being advertised. In total, Golfing Focus's in-depth analysis uncovered 40 different models of drivers being used by the top 100 LPGA Tour pros, with Callaway, Titleist and Ping models, as we have noted, dominating the driver landscape. It was interesting to note, though, that when we did this analysis last a couple of years ago, Ping was the dominant driver brand among the top women pros, with Callaway the fourth most used. Callaway's significant move to be the most played driver brand in such a short space of time is therefore notable. Although, as with all our analysis of pros clubs, how much of this rise is due to sponsorship and endorsement deals must be considered. Significantly also, it was notable that two of the top 3 driver models we found being used by the top 100 LPGA Tour pros, Ping's G430 LST and Titleist TSR3, are two of the most popular drivers among the top 100 PGA Tour pros also. As with the men's game, however, when you look in detail at the drivers being used by the top women pros, the fact that they use the same model of driver does not tell the full story. The similarities often stop there, with individual players choosing different setups that suit their game best. As a result, the shafts, lofts and lie angles really match between different players. Certain pros find different combinations deliver ball flights which are either too high or too low due to their individual swing and delivery of the driver at impact. For example, even though we uncovered 10 of the top 100 LPGA Tour players using a Ping G430 LST driver, not one of those setups matches the other when you take the shaft, loft and lie angle choices into account. Before we move on to taking a look at the driver shafts the LPGA players use, please note that this video is part of our ongoing series of videos looking at what's in the bag of the best players in the LPGA Tour. So after this one, check out our overall video where we go through the entire bag to reveal what the most popular 14 clubs and setups are among the best women pros. Coming back to the driver shaft choices made by the top 100 LPGA pros, not all the individual driver shaft data is available for this elite group, unfortunately, with details not being available for 35 of the top 100. For the remainder, though, we found the following. Fujikura shafts are the most popular driver shafts in the LPGA Tour, with 24% of the top 100 using them, including Lilia Vu and Brooke Henderson. Their Ventus Red 5S is the most used individual driver shaft, picked by Rose Zhang and Stacey Lewis, while 6 pros each play either a Ventus Blue, Ventus Red or Ventus TR Blue driver shaft. Mitsubishi driver shafts are the next most popular, with 17% of the top 100 using them, including Nelly Korda, who picks the Dianima GT60S model. Graphite design shafts are the third most common driver shafts and are used by 11% of the top 100. There are then other driver shafts produced by KBS, Matrix shafts, Miyazaki, Ping, True Temper, UST and Yonex, which are used by 1 or 2 LPGA Tour pros. Moving to the question of which driver shaft flex LPGA players use, the data was again patchy, but we still discovered a preference for stiff driver shafts, with 39 of the 50 LPGA pros for which this stat was available choosing this shaft flex. Charlie Hull, Angel Yin and Lexi Thompson use an extra stiff driver shaft, with another 8 pros choosing a regular flex driver shaft, including Ataya Thitikul and Leona Maguire. In total, Golfing Focus's detailed study of the drivers LPGA Tour players use uncovered 34 different driver shafts being used by the top 100. If you include different flex and weight combinations, that number rises to 44, but it was again interesting to note that Fujikura's dominance among the driver shafts used by the top women pros matches what we uncovered when we took a similarly in-depth look at the shafts PGA Tour pros use. And this marks a change from the last time Golfing Focus did this research a couple of years back, when we found graphite design shafts to be the dominant choice of the top women players. Driver lofts used by the top 100 LPGA Tour pros range from 7 degrees, played by Angel Yin, to 11.1 degrees, chosen by Alison Corpus in her G430 Max 10K driver. The most common driver loft is 9 degrees, with 44% of this group choosing that degree of driver, including Brooke Henderson and Danielle Kang, according to the data available. 10.5 degrees is the next most used driver loft by 23%, with Nelly Korda picking that loft in her tailor-made QI10 Max driver. 10% meanwhile opt for a 9.5 degree lofted driver. When looking at the choices of driver lofts selected by the best players in the LPGA Tour, it was noticeable that there was less variance compared to their male colleagues. But what we all must crucially bear in mind when it comes to looking at driver lofts is that loft is dynamic as well as static. The static loft stamped on any LPGA Tour Pros club is just one part of the equation, and dynamic loft, in simple terms the amount of loft in the club face that impact with the ball, affects the trajectory and most crucially distance more than static loft. We cover in depth in another one of our videos how much driver loft affects distance, but if you're changing your driver and thinking of simply copying a driver loft and setup of one of the top LPGA Tour pros, just take a pause for a moment. The loft in their driver is just part of the puzzle, but it is not the biggest part. So that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please do hit that like button and click on one of those boxes on the screen to join us in another one. And as ever, and most importantly, we hope you're enjoying your golf.